The Kid Icarus series has its fair share of games, but there's one game within the franchise that gets overlooked and rarely gets any love. In today's video, we will take a look at the forgotten underrated gem within the series, known as Kid Icarus of Myths and Monsters. We don't know much about the development of the game, so here's what I can find. The game was a sequel to the original Kid Icarus, and released on November 11th, 1991 in North America, and May 2nd, 1992 in Europe for the Game Boy. It didn't receive a Japanese release for some reason, but if I had to guess, it might be due to time constraint. The game did get a re-release on 3DS eShop, and it was the only time the Japanese audience were able to play the game in 2012. The creator of Kid Icarus, Toru Uzawa, wasn't involved working on the game, despite the fact both of Myths and Monsters and Metroid 2 The Return of Samus used the same engine, and he worked on the development of Metroid 2 as a debugger. Nintendo's R&D1 team, Tosei Software, and the producer of the original Kid Icarus, Gunpei Kioi, returned to the series to work on the game. Hideo Kawaguchi served as the main programmer. If you haven't known by now, some of these enemies looks like they came straight out of the Super Mario Land series. Well, it's because Masafumi Sakashida was a package designer for Super Mario Land 2 and a game tester for Super Mario Land 3. He was chosen to be the main game designer for this game. So what's the story about? Palutena had a bad dream, in which Skyworld being destroyed by an unknown evil force. She then asked the soothsayer about the dream. The soothsayer said that Skyworld will be destroyed by Orcos, based on the Roman god of the underworld, Orcus. She then calls Pit and told him about the dream. Pit is now tasked to retrieve the three sacred treasures from the Fortress Guardians, stop Orcos, and to save Skyworld once again. In the game, Pit must go to Angel Island and go to each tower. You start off in the bottom of the Underworld Tower, then the Overworld Tower, and followed by the Skyworld Tower. Afterwards, he'll reach his final destination in the Sky Palace. The towers are divided into three areas and a fortress, followed by a boss fight against one of the Fortress Guardians to retrieve one of the three sacred treasures. The Fortress Guardians consists of a Minotaur who shoots Skull projectiles and can turn himself into a fireball when he teleports. Skullwing shoots three pillars of fire and flies around the area. Fire Serpent shoots three fireballs and flies around the area as well. The final confrontation with Orcos turns Palutena into stone. He will try to charge at you and shoot projectiles in his first phase. In the second phase, he turns himself into a giant. He will try to stomp Pit, summon bats, and shoot fire at you. Wow. These bosses in this game like to throw fire projectiles at you. At least the bosses in the first game attack differently, and sometimes they shoot different projectiles. For the most part. After defeating Orcos, Palutena returns back to normal. There's only one ending for this game, unlike in the first game, where there was multiple endings. There is credits this time, but it isn't for the people that work on the game. Instead, they show off the enemies. Eventually, Pit goes so high up to the sky, where we meet the smug-ass sun again. This abomination makes Pit lose his wings. I remember you from the last video I made not too long ago. Once again, you bastard. So how does the game play? The game plays like the original Kid Icarus, with some improvements. It's still a side-scrolling platformer, but instead of dying you fall down from the screen, you can just land on the ground or the nearest platform. No fall damage, of course, and you can explore the levels freely. The password system is gone and replaced with save points. Thank the goddess Palutena for that feature. Not you, Zeus. Not you. Or should I say, friendly god? If you see my previous video, you know what I'm talking about. Enemies still drop hearts. Additional dropping health now, known as Goblet. Pit starts off with 3 lives. If you manage to die somehow, you have to restart the level that you're in from the beginning. Losing all your lives will send you back to the last save point. There isn't a way to increase your lives, as far as I know, but I still appreciate the life system being implemented. Not only did I find this weird, when Pit dies, he turns himself into an angel, despite the fact he is an angel. At least the only good thing about it is that he can fly on his own now. I mean, it's something. You can make Pit descend from jumping by tapping the A button to make his wings flap, like a flightless chicken. Your trusty bow and arrow, collectibles, special items, the shopkeeper, the black marketeer, the treasure chamber, hot spring chamber, sacred train chamber, the stone centurions, and the hospital rooms returns and functions the same way. Scoring enough points in each level will grant you an extra life health block. The maximum you can have is 5 blocks. Arrow strength capacity has been increased to 8. Another way to get some health, besides defeating enemies or going to the shopkeeper, is by finding the water of life scattered across the levels. You can't really haggle the shopkeeper, but you can haggle the black marketeer by pressing left down A B on the control pad. But be aware, this could lower the price or raise the price. There is no special requirements to guarantee the price will lower, like in the first game, so lowering the price is at random. The stone centurion's role is different. In stages, they drop Palutena's key or goblets. In the fortress area, they might contain a pencil, a check sheet, now known as a map in this game, or a torch. They no longer help you in boss battles. Once you free them, they're gone. This time around, you're allowed to use the special weapons in the fortress. Every single item the player contains, so far in the treasure chamber, are capped until the player selects the god of poverty or not. Collecting any items won't make the other jars disappear, or kick you out of the room. And the god of poverty doesn't kick you out, if selected. You're forced to leave the room by yourself. If you enter any room and leave, the room door will stay closed until you get the Palutena key that is hidden near the end of the level. You can only obtain the Palutena key if you manage to enter each room in each area. This will open open all doors in the area permanently. The 3 sacred treasures now consist of the wings of Pegasus, the light arrow, and the silver armor. The mirror shield is not part of the 3 sacred treasures for this game. I'm not really sure why they changed this. I mean, what was wrong with the original one? Retrieving all 3 sacred treasures doesn't mean you get to wear them. Secret points must be earned to wear all 3 sacred treasures. Earn secret points by using your hammer to find hidden doors. There's no indication on the progress of the secret points, not even on a checkpoint screen. Oddly enough, it's in the game's code to show up in the status menu, along with points awarded at the checkpoints. Not sure why they removed it. Seems quite dumb if you ask me. Failing to do so will result in Pit wearing only the wings of Pegasus. Pit can be given a second chance to wear the silver armor and the light arrow by going into the door of the sacred training chamber. You can easily cheat your way out by flying to the top of the screen. Nothing really happens if you don't equip the other 2 sacred treasures. Also, for some reason, this form is called Amazing Pit. Kinda glad they dropped that name. It sounds so stupid. They could have called it Super Saint Pit. On the same topic of the 3 sacred treasures, I know I should have said this earlier before, but why does Pit have to retrieve the 3 sacred treasures? Wasn't Pit worthy wearing the 3 sacred treasures in the first game? For some reason in the manual, it states that Pit is not worthy wearing the 3 sacred treasures. Why? It's already been proven that he's worthy wearing the 3 sacred treasures. He saved Palutena and the entirety of Angel Land by himself, and you're telling me he's not worthy? This makes no sense. I don't know, Palutena. I'm pretty sure you're gonna need him, since, I don't know, he's like your only angel left. Well, anyway, you can scroll for the items that you want by pressing down on the control pad. If you don't have enough hearts, find a snake jar, shoot them, go off screen, and rinse and repeat. The water of life can be found scattered across the levels for your own convenience. You can use your hammer to find hidden paths, and it can be used while turning into an eggplant. This game introduced first-time enemies and minor characters that never appear in the first game or in Uprising. I will now list what enemies are found in each level. The Underworld Tower has Cyclops Skull, King Crabs, Wormser, and Minotaur. The Overworld has Big Toe, Cyclops Hopper, Globe, Ruff, Sticky Talon, and Skullwing. Skyworld Tower has Komedos, Lunas, Merc, Octix, and Fire Serpent. Sky Palace has Busy Bee, Hut, Pythagoras. That's right, you heard me. Pythagoras, as in the real-life Greek philosopher and the guy that created the Pythagorean theorem. This useless piece of math. God, I did not like this shit. I did not like the Pythagorean theorem, especially in calculus. I had to drop that class because of it. Well, technically it was not the main reason. It was mostly part of the reason. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention it was AP calculus. I am so glad he's an enemy in this game. So yeah, take that, Pythagoras. Useless math. Not sure why they use a real-life person as an enemy. I guess Masafumi must have hated this dude. Where was I? Oh, right. Anyway, back to the list. Shadow Mask and Orcos. The fortress areas consist of Eggplant Wizard, Fireball, Buzzball, Gubble, Slime, Spunky, and Stone Golem. Enemies such as bats, reapers, repeats, snakes, Spitball Blob, and Totems are common enemies found in multiple areas. The only enemies to return from the first game are Reapers, Repeats, Eggplant Wizard, Komedos, God of Poverty, and Totem. Addition to the enemies, the first-time minor characters consist of Crow, the Keeper of the Hot Spring Chamber, and last but not least, a supposed main character that turned into the best minor character within the series, and could possibly take down anyone within the series, that none of the gods, not even Lord Dentos, can't beat him. He even puts Ultra Instinct Goku to shame. His name is Don. Don't even stare at Don in the eyes for too long, or else he will destroy you. Besides being powerful, he provides helpful hints and tips to the player in his information center. Once he gives you a hint or tip, leave, or else. Oh yeah, there's a room called the Bat Chamber, in which it has, bats. Since Becknose is not in the game, it got replaced by bats. I kind of do miss the Groucho Marx enemy. Now that we got all that out of the way, what was it like playing the game? It's actually a pretty good sequel. It's a lot more friendly towards returning players, casual players, and newcomers to the series than its predecessor. This doesn't mean the game isn't hard. It still is, but it's toned down in difficulty. Overall, I recommend this game if you're new to the series. Do you have to play the first game to understand the sequel? The short answer is no. You could start this series from here, but you will be a little bit confused once you start Uprising, the third game in the series. Majority of the fans prefer the first game because of its charm, in which I kind of do agree. Not saying the sequel has no charm of its own, but it doesn't quite match the first game. The only two major problems I have with this game is that being on handheld, the screen is too small. It makes it harder to land on platforms, and enemies can attack out of nowhere because of this. You could pause the game and move the camera around, but it would be tiresome if you have to do this every single time. The boss battle takes what feels like forever to defeat. Like, holy hell, they have a ton of health. Not to mention, they don't have a health counter, unlike in the first game, and you have to fight them in a very small area, which makes dodging almost impossible. In my personal opinion, they're a lot more difficult than the final boss. Before I end up this video, here's some more trivia about this game. Another way to delete your save data, press left, B, select, or press left, B, Y. There's an unused lion and goat in the game files, under the rest of the boss graphics. It was most likely placeholders for the actual bosses. During the promotion of Myths and Monsters, in a Nintendo Power magazine, there was a comic series called Howard and Nestor, later renamed to Nestor's Adventures. It featured the game as part of the story. In this comic, Nestor's dreams of being Pit under Zeus's training. entertaining. Nintendo Power Magazine, issue number 30, contained completed maps of the first 3 stages. There were plans to be more completed maps to be reviewed and scanned, but according to the same page, the game arrived late to review. The Nintendo Power Magazine also included trading cards as part of the Superpower Club series. Pit has 2 variations of the cards. One was the standard card, and the other one was the collector's edition that has the Superpower Club words in shining gold color. The back of the card details the descriptions, a challenge for the player, the system it was on, the game type, the number of players, the release date, and the company's name. This is what happens if you turn into an eggplant and enter the Fortress Guardian's room. The boss doesn't show up until you return back to normal. There are some platforms that will be okay to land on, and others that are not. If you see something that has spikes, or see this wavy effect right here on screen, it's a hazard. Just a small little tip to help you guys out. It's hard to tell which is a platform and which is not. Trust me, have you seen this right here on screen? Because right here on screen, it's supposed to be grass. And then you get this thing. I'm not sure what that is. It looks like a spiky tumbleweed. Now for the question you may be wondering. Is this game still canon to the series? There's 2 pieces of evidence that proves that this game is still canon. The UK website for Uprising still states that Missing Monsters is still the 2nd game in the series. During the launch of Kid Icarus Uprising in Nintendo World, now known as Nintendo NYC, it had a bunch of Kid Icarus memorabilia. A Game Boy cartridge of Missing Monsters was on display. Unless Nintendo says something about it, this game is still canon. Oh, right, I forgot to mention, you can't crouch walk anymore. It would have come in handy in this fortress level right now. Ah, come on, I mean, just look. You can fit through. If you wait long enough on a title screen, you'll see this little secret animation. If you have your hammer out, after finishing any level, Pit will shoot the hammer like an arrow. And for some reason, the Reaper doesn't have a steam. It got replaced by this. Like, why though? Was it too much for the Game Boy? Or do they think it will sound horrible on handheld? Well, that wraps up today's video. Thank you for watching. Take care, be safe, have yourself a good night, and I'll see you back here with your boy, Mr. A.I.G. Later.